ODU's head coach Ricky Rahne joins us talking about the big turnaround for the Monarchs on Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We continue our tour around the Sunbelt spring practice. Let's talk with ODU's head coach Ricky Rahne, coming off a bowl appearance, winning on what was basically fourth and season at the end of the ball game, with Grant Wilson taking it in for a QB draw touchdown. And so we talk about that. We talk about, building on last year's success and what holes have to be filled moving forward. So let's get to it. He is the head coach of the ODU Monarchs. He is Ricky Rahne on Locked On Sunbelt. Dave Schultz back on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We continue our spring football tour. Let's go out to Norfolk and talk to the head coach of the ODU Monarchs. He is Ricky Rahne. Before we look forward, we always like to look back, and I always compare it to, unadulterated joy, pure joy, when Clay Helton and Georgia Southern beat App State. He's been in some big ball games. He's been around a minute, and I don't think he's ever been happier on a football field. And that was kind of the way I saw it was last year, right? It's basically fourth in a season, and Grant Wilson, we'll have to talk about the play, goes in on a QB draw, and the next thing I know is your wife is jumping into your arms, and ODU is going bowling. What was that? Why don't you tell us, leading up to the play, what was going through your mind, and then what happened after the play?
Well, we were down 21-0 at halftime. And so, it was one of those things where we just weren't playing very well. We beat Georgia Southern on the last play of the game the week before. We ended the season with 11 one-score games, 11 plays where the last play of the game decided the game. Right. And, it was pretty unbelievable if you think about it that way. So we won some of those. We lost some of those. We were able to, pull out a win against Louisiana on a play like that. And then, we didn't against, Coastal. And, we had a close one against a bunch of different teams. So it was pretty unbelievable. But, that particular one, we started playing well in the second half and, came back. We ended up going for an onside kick, and they ended up being offside, which is the first time I've ever seen that. And so then we decided to try to kick the onside kick a little bit harder and went all the way back to like the 4-yard line, 5-yard line. And then, 2 plays later, we safety them, which was unbelievable. And then we get the ball back and we go down and score that winner. We had another play called and then we thought we saw what they were in, ended up checking the play into something else. And what was crazy about it was it wasn't really the defense that we thought. They actually disguised it fairly well, but it was still a perfect call for the defense they happened to be in. So it was one of those situations and we got in and, it was awesome. And it was a pretty, fourth down play and all that sort of stuff. And, for my wife, it was crazy because, my wife drove 6 hours that day because she drove up 3 hours to watch my son play hockey and then turned around and drove back just so she could be at the game. And so that shows, what type of unbelievable mother she is to do that, and didn't want to miss one of his hockey games, but also what an unbelievable wife to be there and support me for that sort of thing. So, it was a pretty cool deal.
All right, so a lot of times, and I am no football savant, but a lot of times, when a running back or somebody goes in motion and that middle linebacker clears the way, you're like, well, this is going straight up the middle. You can see it. Could you see that the play was going to work before the ball was snapped?
Yeah. I could see it right as the ball was snapped, you could see it was going to work. And that was awesome. It was very similar. Honestly, it was a very similar play to what we called the week before, the second to last play of the game against Georgia Southern, where we broke a big long one. And the same thing happened. As soon as the ball was snapped, you could kind of tell it was going to work out. And so it was a great play call by Coach Deck, great execution by the offensive line and Grant and everything. And Yeah, big time play, and obviously it was you really wanted that to happen because of all those close games that we'd had.
So let's talk about it. The big word in camp this year seems to be consistency. And, ODU was on, as you mentioned, a lot of one-score games, but on a roller coaster throughout the season, right? You get a big win against the Cajuns. Probably should have beat Wake at home, although you got Wake at home, which is amazing. Marshall was an insane football game. And, you get a great win to end the season. You had a big lead in the bowl game that slipped away. So talk to us about turning around ODU, because – you guys did. You went to a bowl game. I know that bowl game didn't go as planned, but it was quite a season and a lot of fun for ODU fans last year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously consistency is one thing. I think for us, the bigger thing is finishing. Dominating finish. And we did that, so I don't want to take that away from our kids either, because we did finish some games, and sometimes, people forget that. I think, the fans at Georgia Southern, the fans at Louisiana, those fans are probably sitting there saying, well, no, those guys finish games. I mean, the fans at Southern Miss, we finished some games too. So I think that it's one of those situations where we've just got to finish every play, every rep, and all those sort of things. It's easy to point to those plays that happened in the fourth quarter and say, hey, this is where this thing turned around, or this is where this happened. Right. But the reality of it is sometimes those plays happen in the second quarter. They do. Yep. In the bowl game, there's a couple plays we had in the second quarter where we can, even though we had a huge lead and all those sort of things, we really could have had a bigger lead. And I think that's where sometimes you look at those sort of things and you say, all right, well, the fourth quarter, we got to look at how we do this. But, man, there was a lot of stuff that happened in the first, second, and third quarter that could really change the game as well. Yeah,
I mean, against the Cajuns, you were facing first and goal and had a goal line stand. So that would have been, a tough way for the Cajuns to lose, but impressive for ODU to hang on. We're talking with Ricky Rahne, head coach of the ODU Monarchs. One of the questions that you are not worried about getting this year, for me or anybody else, is who is the starting quarterback? How relaxing is that, knowing I got my guy, Grant Wilson, leading the way?
Well, I mean, it's relaxing, but on the other hand, I go back and I look at everything, and maybe it's just the way I am, but I look at everything and I see how many teams had to play multiple quarterbacks throughout the year.
Well, sure,
right?
You got to get somebody else ready, yeah.
And so you've got to make sure that you have enough good players that are going to be able to play and going to help you win. I mean, that's going to be the thing, credit goes to Coastal because they were able to beat us with their backup quarterback. You know what I mean? And that sort of thing. I mean, App, I don't think that guy was supposed to be the quarterback all year, and he goes in there and plays really, really well for them and does some unbelievable things. Marshall had to play with their backup quarterback for a lot of last year. Louisiana, Lord knows how many quarterbacks they've played over the last 2 years. I mean, they've had to play with a ton. So I think when you start looking at that, you realize, man, it's not just about one guy. You bet if your team need you to have multiple guys and go out there and play. So I have been really happy with the development of Colton Joseph and the development of Jack Shields, and I think they've shown something. Jack got in a game last year and did some nice things against Marshall and some other guys, and so I think that's something that we're going to need to be able to have multiple guys that can play, because unfortunately in today's day and age you're probably going to need it, especially in a league with the defenders and the aggressive defenses that we face in the Sun Belt.
Well, it could be anything from a tweaked ankle that he's got to come out, and obviously you're always worried about a concussion. So yeah.
I mean, it could be anything. I mean, shoot, it could be a helmet coming off, but let's say the helmet comes off, you don't have any timeouts left, and it's third down in a 2-minute drive. Like, hey man, you got to go play, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So it's one of those situations where you've got to be ready to go at all times, and it's a little bit different than maybe it was in the past.
Yeah, that happened to Chandler Fields and the Cajuns. Zion Chris got hurt, and he went out there and completed like a 3rd and 14.
Yeah, it's huge.
Hot.
No doubt. I mean, it's one of those things where, you need it, and you need your team to be able to have that sort of confidence and that sort of trust in that other person as well.
All right, let's take a time out. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Ricky Rahne, the head coach of the Old Dominion Monarchs. Talks about how in year 2 of the offense that was installed last year can really take off. We'll do that after we tell you about eBay Motors and Lafayette Travel. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. And Lafayette Travel. Escape to Lafayette, Louisiana, the happiest city in America, where every visit is uniquely seasoned with unforgettable experiences. Savor world-class cuisine, including mouth-watering boudin, savory gumbo, and piping hot crawfish, seasoned to perfection. Experience lively festivals that celebrate Lafayette's one-of-a-kind heritage. Explore magnificent trails that lead you through our rich cultural history and breathtaking natural beauty. Discover the untouched purity of our cypress and tupelo swamps, where you can paddle past nesting birds and sunbathing alligators. Immerse yourself in the vibrant rhythms of Cajun and Zydeco music that can be heard any night of the week. Whether your passion is for our rich cultural history, the bustling culinary scene, or the distinctive blend of Cajun and Zydeco music, the happiest city in America has something for everyone. Start planning your adventure at LafayetteTravel.com/season. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's continue our conversation with the Monarchs head football coach, Ricky Rahne. He talks about, tweaking that offense, although he does say in year 2, with more trust, the offense can have some major gains in year 2 after the installation. Talking to Ricky Rahne, head coach of the ODU Monarchs on Lockdown Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, so you installed a new offense last season, bringing in one of the highest scoring offenses in the nation. How do you build on that and take that to the next level? And again, the word is consistency.
Yeah, well, I think when you look at this offense, throughout the nation, teams that run versions of it, it really takes off in its second year. There's a little bit more trust in the kids in the system. There's a little bit more trust between the wide receivers and the quarterbacks. There's more trust in the quarterbacks in the overall scheme. There's more trust in the running backs and what you're trying to get done. And so I think that the second year it really begins to take off. And I've seen a lot of signs of that here in spring ball. There's a lot of things we still need to get better. And so I'm already looking forward to the summer and our coaches having some one-on-one time with our guys and then into camp. But, I have seen some major strides from really even the end of last year and now.
All right, so tell us how is spring ball going? You got a couple more practices to go.
Yeah, 2 left. Thursday and Saturday. We'll have quote unquote our spring game on Saturday, but really for us, it's just going to be practice 15. We're just going to, we'll scrimmage and do all those sort of things, but we're not splitting it up and doing those. We need to get better. We need to find a chance to get better. And I think it's a great opportunity because it's in front of some fans and it's in front of some, so it's a little bit more pressure and that sort of thing, which is huge. That will allow us to see, hey, there's going to be some guys that unfortunately are probably not going to respond well to that, right? And
right.
It gives them another opportunity before we start going to the games. But there's going to be some other guys who are going to continue to play well and really show you, hey, I've matured, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to take on a bigger role this year. So spring ball's gone really well. I thought we had our best, most competitive practice of the year on Tuesday, which was practice 13. So I thought that was awesome. And I was really, I complimented the guys because we've had some other practices that have maybe gone back and forth and that sort of thing. But I didn't think that it was, one of the practices I think maybe the guys thought was a really good practice and I didn't. We had
Sure.
a practice that maybe it was like a bunch of explosive plays and some TFLs. And to me, that's not good football, right? Like it can't be boom or bust for either side of the ball. I thought our last practice was excellent in terms of it was just good football. There's a lot of good football going on. And I thought that that was something that we needed to see. And I think our guys needed to see that practice in order for them to feel, okay, this is what it needs to feel like. This is the type of competitiveness. This is the type of physicality we got to play with.
So I always wonder, how do you tell the difference between, if it's good offense or bad defense or vice versa? So if the offense is having a good day, does that mean the defense had a bad one or the offense made some plays? If the offense is having a bad day, is that because they were bad or because the defense had a good day?
Well, I think every coach in the history of mankind gets accused of by their players for, well, you only say it's a good practice if the offense does well, or you only say the good practice if that's just like every head coach in the history of the world has got that from their players.
Sure.
And the reality of it is I just want to see good football, right? I mean, I just want to see us practice well. I want to see us play with great effort. I want to see us play with great technique. I want to see us eliminate as many mental errors as possible. Right. Like, I mean, those are the type of things I'm looking to see. I don't want to see unforced errors. I want to see, hey, that they didn't make that play because that was a great play by the defensive back, or they didn't make that play or they did make that play because it was a really well thrown ball and an excellent route and great timing. That's what you're looking for. And so, as I think the more you go through it, but that is the great challenge because, you think about it, you play somebody on December 20th. And then you don't play somebody again until August 31st. I mean, it's over 8 months later when you actually get to see really what you have, and you don't really know. I mean, you can, as I get older, which is crazy. I'm about to go into my 21st year of coaching, which is just mind-boggling. I mean, I can't even fathom ever even saying that. I remember when I was a younger coach, and somebody would be like, "I've been coaching for 21 years." And you're like, "God dang, 21 years!" Like, you know what I mean? Like, and they'd remember things that happened 16 years ago. Hey, 3rd and 5 on this day against this, and we did that, and I'd always be like, "Man, I'm never going to be like that." Now I do it all the time. Somebody will be like, "Well, I don't know if I've ever seen this defense," and all of a sudden I'll pull up a play from 15 years ago and be able to show them when it happened. And so it's just like, I think the experience is what allows you to say, hey, this is good or this is bad.
Well, you can have both, I think, at the same time, right? You can throw an out on 3rd and 4 and you gain 5 yards, and it's a good throw, well placed by the offense. Because if you throw it inside, it may get tipped away, but then you make the tackle. That may be a play where, the guy's supposed to miss and he doesn't get any yards after catch, but he makes a good tackle coming up and making a play. That I would technically think that's a good play. You can't stop everything offensively.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And there definitely are. There's even some plays where, hey, a blitzer gets through and it's whatever. And it's like, hey, man, the defense did an awesome job at disguising that blitz right there.
Right.
And their blitz paths were perfect. They got exactly where they needed to be and all those sort of things. So I think that's been really good. What I've been really happy with, we haven't necessarily worked a whole lot of X's and O's on special teams, but we have worked special teams techniques a lot. And Coach Smith does a great job, our special teams coordinator. And I tell you what, I feel like we've got a lot better on special teams. And I feel like kids are really bought in. And I feel that I've been happy with the improvements we've made each and every day. I really have. And then that's a thing where, you don't always get those improvements in spring ball on special teams. And I really feel like we have.
Well, those are where those hidden yards are, right? You get a punt return, it doesn't even have to be that long, but instead of getting it on the 10 or it's down inside the 10, you return it to the 25. And now you can run your offense. Or you get a kickoff return. It doesn't have to be for a touchdown, but you pick it up at the goal line instead of kneeing it and you're down at the 25. All of a sudden you're at the 45.
Yeah, there's no question. And I also think that the reality of it is the game is played a lot more in space now, and special teams are in space. So sure. It's fundamental. You're working on fundamentals. You're working on closing space. You're working on, tackling in space or getting off blocks or blocking in space or doing all those sort of things. So there's a lot of fundamentals that go into both, into offense and defense. And I've seen it. I've seen our guys make strides in our special teams drills, which have turned out to make strides on offense and defense as well. So I've been really happy with that.
Talking to Ricky Rahne, head coach of the ODU Monarchs, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, tell us about some other positions that need to be filled. Either they were through the portal, transfers, or just guys, that got a little bit of a chance to play last year, but are expected, to play sometime this season and are looking good in spring as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different guys that have done well this spring that I've been happy with. I've been pleased with our running backs. They've made a nice stride. We've got a couple transfers there who've done some nice things, and then some guys returning. A tight end, I've been really happy there. I think that Jalen Butler has done some really, really good things, and I expect a good year out of him. Offensive line, we've still got to add a few transfers there, but I've seen a lot of growth in the guys that we've had, and I think that we're going to be deeper. And I've watched us, play better over the last week and a half, and been excited about where that's going to go, especially with the whole off season, where we get bigger and stronger there, but also an off season where we become, a tighter unit. I think that's going to be critical. Wide receiver, still got to add, a piece or two there, but really been pleased with how the guys have responded to the coaching of Coach Cook, our new wide receiver coach, and done some really good things there. And I feel like our guys have made, they're making great decisions. They're playing faster and doing some of those sort of things. On defense, our secondary is a lot deeper. And the reality of it is we had to replace, 4 starters last year, and we've got to replace, 4 starters this year. I mean, I think that's just the way that college football is going to be now. And it's
right.
fine. I mean, it's because one thing that it does allow us to do as coaches is develop. And I think that each one of us at our core, we're still teachers, and we want to develop, and we want to do those sort of things. So, we all want experience. We all want this. We all want that. But, hey, we've got to respond to the situation at hand. And I do feel like our secondary in general is much deeper. We have a lot of different guys can go in the game. Defensive line, also done a nice job there. Coach Vick's done a nice job in recruiting, and those guys who maybe played for us as freshmen are now getting a little bit older, and I feel like we've got a chance there as well. And then we get some linebackers back healthy, but we've also got some guys who, Koa was able to play in the bowl game and for us in that Georgia State game, and he played really, really well for us, and he's done a nice job this spring. So overall, I've been really happy with everybody. We still have a couple pieces to add on a couple of different fronts, and I don't think we're going to be alone on that. I'm sure everybody, whether they admit it or not, everybody who comes on this thing is going to have a couple pieces they're still going to need, and so I think the key is going to be how quickly we can integrate those pieces and turn them into a cohesive unit.
All right, so that's for later in the fall. Well, I don't know why they call it fall practice. It's not in the fall, and it's really hot. So I'm not sure why they call it fall practice, but nonetheless.
Yeah. Humid practice. Maybe that's what we should call
that's
it.
really what it is. Okay, let's take a time out. When we come back, we'll wrap up our conversation with Ricky Rahne, the head coach of the ODU Monarchs. First off, he doesn't want to hear about work-life balance because he's got a great job as a head football coach, and he talks about living up to the expectations and competing in what is a very difficult Sun Belt East division. Let me tell you about Gametime. Gametime is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. Last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. Flash deals. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. All-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. And those seat views. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. And that lowest price guarantee or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Dave Schultz on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's wrap up our conversation with ODU Monarchs head coach Ricky Rahne. Doesn't want to hear about work-life balance and talking about competing in that difficult Sun Belt East division.
Yeah.
All right, so how do you attack, the portal coming up here? Everyone, it's an issue. College basketball coaches are retiring. We got Nick Saban retiring. It is 24/7. 365. There's got to be a little bit of downtime. We heard GJ Kinney is having a kid right before fall practice starts. You got to have some time to decompress. So you got some holes to fill. The portal is going to, I guess, open up, or whatever the case is. You're getting kids out of the portal coming up. How do you attack that? Or have you been attacking it already? And then how do you decide, all right, I need to get away at least a little bit and reintroduce myself to my family?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's just one of those things. Everybody's got to do it their own way. You know what I mean? And we've all got to understand that. Well, first of all, no fan wants to hear us complain about how tough our lives are because we get to coach football. I mean, come on. Like, what are we talking about? You know what I mean? I mean, I like, that's the one thing I hear about this all the time. Like, oh, work-life balance. It's like work-life balance. I have the coolest job in the world. What am I balancing? Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't, like, so find a way to have a work-life balance, DJ's got to get with his, he's got to get that figured out. Cause my wife,
compared to some others,
the best. My wife was the best. We had one kid in April, and we had one kid what was supposed to be the Friday before our bowl game when I was at Vanderbilt, and instead she had him the day we got off. So like I've never missed a day, not a day for anything. Like, it's been nuts. I mean, like, my wife is just like, she's like, I don't know. She's the best. It's just, it's
Charles
a
Huff had
example.
a kid. Yeah, Charles Huff gave all the credit to his wife. He was like, I was there for the birth, and then she's got it.
Yeah. I mean, right now we have 8 kids, and we have 3 of the wives are pregnant. But we have 8 kids on our staff under the age of 3. Like, so I have the youngest staff in America. So like, and I mean, it's like actual stat.
Right.
So it is wild. I mean, like, there's like babies running around all over the place. I mean, we got more baby showers than anybody on the planet, I think. So
onesies are the easiest gift, especially ODU onesies.
I mean, I again, Jen Ronnie handles all that. All I do is I think I sign my name sometimes. I think she does it most of the time, But no, I mean, I think that you just got to kind of incorporate it. I also want our families around. So like, our families come to a bunch of different things here. I think it's important that we have events where our families get together, but I think it's also important where we have events where our families, where it's just the adults, like the coaches and their wives, getting together and doing things as well too, and having fun together. I mean, because ultimately we've got to be a cohesive thing. And I think the kids feel that when they know that we like each other and we like being around each other, they kind of feel that. When they feel a division or whatever, then that doesn't go real well either. So they need that. But I mean, we get summer, July is a time where we get to be with our family and all that sort of stuff. And I'm excited for that. But no, we got to attack the transfer portal. And we've got to be able to find guys. And the reality of it is, every single team that comes on here is going to still have some guys who are going to enter the transfer portal. Right. And that's going to happen. And again, I tell people all the time, like, I just get through the 5 stages of grief a lot sooner now. You know what I mean? Like, I get from like anger to acceptance like that. I mean, it is like, it's because you don't have time. Like, you don't have time to like talk about how it used to be, And so we've got to go through and find the guys that want to be here, because I think that ultimately that's what's going to make us successful, is having a bunch of different guys who want to be here, who want to play hard, who want to, who want to play. And what I think is one of the, I don't care, group of 5, non-group of 5, I think it's one of the greatest conferences in all of college football. And so, I mean, I think that you're going to, you want to be challenged. This is a great place. Anywhere in the Sun Belt is a great place to play ball if you want to get challenged. And so that's the guys that we need to find.
All right. So when you live on Virginia Beach, where do you go on vacation?
Again, wherever my wife sends me. I know we're going to Maine. I have 2 states left that I've never been to. I've never been to Idaho, and I've never been to Maine. Now technically I need to also go to Montana because I've actually slept in all the other states, right? Like I've stayed there. I've been there. Mostly through recruiting and that sort of stuff. Right. But so I need to probably go to Montana back, although I was there for like 12 hours, but I probably need to go back to Montana as well. But we're going to go to Maine to knock that one out. And then I think we're going down to the Outer Banks of North Carolina for a little bit, which is for us is great. It's an hour drive, you know what I mean? So, someday I want to get a Jeep someday because you can actually drive on the beach all the way there. I want to do that someday. So I'll have to get that knocked out. But and then honestly, you're right. Stay here. I'm gonna stay here. My buddies from around here, I don't golf a whole lot, and they golf a lot, and they are like on a mission for me to golf with them this summer. So I've told them that I will, and so I gotta, one thing with golf is I used to be good, and now I'm not, and so now it's just frustrating to me. And every time I do it, I get so frustrated, and it's just like I think I'm supposed to be having fun while I do this, and I'm not. And so that's just one of those things where I got to get over that part of it.
He is Ricky Rahne, head coach of the ODU Monarchs. All right, we went off on a couple of tangents. Let's wrap it up this way. It is not easy to compete in the Sun Belt East, although we do have some turnover over there, right? New head man at JMU. You got new quarterbacks in the division. How do you build on last year's success to take it to the next level in what is a very hard division?
Yeah. This might be, this is one of, if not the most competitive conference in all of college football. I mean, every single week, if you look at every single week's the team, there's never going to be a blowout. I mean, teams can beat the other team and that sort of deal. And it's crazy. And you just got to go one game at a time and battle your way through it. I think what's really funny is how when the schedules came out, every single one of us complained that we had the worst schedule possible. And I think the reason why is because we just look and we're like, well, this team's good, this team's good, this team's good. I mean, we played 10 bowl teams. You know what I mean? We played 10 bowl teams. And the 2 bowl teams that we don't play are our first 2 games, South Carolina and East Carolina, which are 2 really good football teams. So, I mean, I think that's pretty awesome, right? I mean, like, right. That's cool that we're able to do that, and we're able to kind of go through and see, hey, every single game is something that the NFL scouts want to see. Every single game is going to be physical. Every single game is going to be close. Every single game, that play in the second quarter is going to matter whether you win or lose. And I think that's the thing that I love, and I'm pretty sure if you really enjoy being a competitor, this is the perfect deal. The last thing I'll say is this. In May, we go and we do the Sun Belt Conference meetings and everything.
Right.
Man, I really like all the head coaches. I know I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to hate them, and they're supposed to be terrible and all that sort of stuff. But I genuinely enjoy every single one of them, and I mean that. I don't know if they genuinely enjoy me. I'm an acquired taste, but I think that I just like being around those guys, and they're really good football coaches who love ball, who do things the right way. And it's just, it's a good deal. And so, when you're going and you're competing against these guys, it's like, yeah, all right, I want to beat them. And Lord knows I want to beat them more than anything. But you also, after that, and they're going in non-conference, you can root for them because, you genuinely want them to win. And I do think there's a little bit more of that for us. We are, in terms of that, we want each other to win those out of conference games. We're really for each other in terms of that. And then we're going to compete till the bitter end once it gets to conference. And again, you can just look at the records and see, I mean, there's not a whole lot of undefeated, conference champions and those sort of things. It's just, it's a hard deal in this league, in the East and the West. I always think, we play 2 of the West teams every year. And I mean, it ain't like those games are easy. Those games are down to the last play of the game. So I mean, and and it's really, really hard and physical and those sort of things. So I feel pretty blessed that I get to coach in this conference.
Here's Ricky Rahne, head coach of the ODU Monarchs on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Really appreciate your time, Coach. Enjoy spring practice wrapping up. Enjoy the vacation that you get. So you have 49 of the 50 states, and we'll see you in New Orleans for Sunbelt Media Days. Really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and thanks for everything you do for the Sunbelt. This is awesome.